Delivery for Mphasis.
Yeah.
Hi Sundar, how are you?
Vishal. Good, thanks. How are you, Vishal?
Thanks for coming down.
Thanks for inviting.
What are we going to talk about today? Today we're going to talk about how IT is transforming itself, how global delivery is changing. Some of you might remember, those who are 35 years old would remember that global delivery was all about using the best talent globally across locations and delivering low-cost IT services. And some of you are 21 who would not know this at all. You can learn a lot from Sundar today and me. So tell me, what is changing global delivery, Sundar?
Yeah, see, if you look at the global delivery model, the way it has been for many years, it has been, what can you say, it followed the kind of the business model, right? The business cycles were really long, the product releases took a long period of time, and when the product releases, so the projects were also of that kind of scale.
When you say longer, how long were they in the old days? You want to tell some of our audience who are very young?
Yeah, okay. It was more in terms of 12 months, 18 months, 24 months. In fact, some projects were even for 5 years. You had a 5-year roadmap in implementing projects, right?
Okay.
So the business plans were also that. The customer strategy, the business strategy was also kind of long-ended. Now, what has happened in this the current world over a period of time, and the cycles have really shrunk over a period of time, and people don't really wait. The businesses don't really wait for 1 year, 18 months, or 24 months to get the outcomes.
Is it because the product delivery cycle has reduced? Are the products delivered to the cloud? Is that the reason? Do you want to give a parallel between the old and the new?
Yeah, so the two things have really happened, right? The one thing that has happened is that the shrinking of the entire business cycle is because of the advent of the digital technology. The digital technology is applying the digital technology to all aspects of business, not just the front end, to all aspects of business. And also the users, the people who are using, right? You look at your smartphone, right? The kind of apps that you have in your smartphone tells you that you are a digital user. People have become digital users. So their expectations from the technology has significantly changed. So with that compression, what has really happened is that the organizations are looking at the faster release cycles, accelerated product launches, and that is getting mirrored into the IT also, the technology world also. So
what is the typical engagement like? In the old days, like you said, 5 years. Now they're saying 12 months to 18 months. So they're saying apps and cloud-based products and analytics. Is that how, or are they billing based on outcome?
Yeah, billing based on outcomes, and you want to get the outcomes quickly. So you are really looking at what was earlier 12 months, 18 months into now 3 months, and it is running into weeks. So instead of talking into the weeks, yeah, 3 weeks, 6 weeks release cycle. So the release cycles have really gone really sharp. So we can say at the end of 6 weeks we would give you something, at the end of 12 weeks you would get something else. So the releases have become much shorter. So when the release is becoming shorter, the business benefits do get accelerated.
Okay.
Do get accelerated. So from the large projects where you had large teams, where you did the requirements, the design, the coding, testing, and the typical, you go from one box to another box to another box. What has really happened is that...
that's very technical. You want to give us an example from a banking perspective, which is what Mphasis is, and financial services. How would a financial services company want to reinvent itself in a week, or in weeks, or 12 months or something like that? Do you want to give an example how things work in a short time frame?
Short time. Primarily, you really start from the business outcomes, right? What is that you really want to really look at? What kind of, for example, let us say implementing a seamless enrollment project. So you look at what are the points where there are issues.
Enrollment of customers.
Enrollment of customers. It can be your KYC, the enrollment of customers, or something like improving the customer satisfaction. So these are all the business outcomes. So you start from the business outcomes, and you discuss how do you really improve it, what kind of business metrics we need to really look at it. And once you have that thing, then you start working towards a solution for that. And then you have the workshops with the customer, where we do have the design thinking workshop with the customer. So in the workshop with the customer, we typically look at the problems and what is the current system that they have, how do we really improve the things so that they get the benefits quicker. And based on that, we do go and apply. Two things happen. One is that the IT teams really become shrunk. You get into the agile mode of development instead of waterfall development. We get into the agile mode, and the agile mode have smaller teams, shorter sprints, and the teams are well contained, self-contained team. You have a self-adequate teams. So in that team, you primarily have all skills present in the team, and that team really takes care of your delivery.
Okay.
So that is that's how the
pace of change.
The pace of change with respect to the configuration of the IT teams itself. Over
it's a leadership question, right? Today you talk about transformation of your employees. The press has had a field day in saying there will be job losses in IT services. Would you agree with that? You are basically saying, you were earlier telling me that it's about reskilling, it's about continuous learning. Do you want your thoughts on those processes that are changing?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you look at the solutions that we go to the customers with, right? Today it is a lot of things are based on cloud. We have things that are based on cognitive solutions, because cognitive solutions uses the data to give a better insights. At the end of the thing is that we are trying to drive the personalization. The personalization is what we want to drive. So if you look at our workforce itself, we are doing workforce reskilling at different levels. At the bottommost level of the basic, the junior level, what we are really looking at is that taking a look at the workforce that we have and get them trained in the machine learning. Your machine learning, your data
machine learning and AI.
AI, the artificial intelligence. And those are they are applied today in different customers, in different ways they are being applied today. And so that the junior side, the people who are doing this coding and development are being done that. And one of the oft-repeated thing is that the middle layer, if you really look at the middle layer, there are a lot of people in the IT industry in the middle layer. But remember, these guys are the guys who have really done the work, they understand the customers, they understand what it means to deliver in IT. What we are doing is that we are upskilling them and making them architects.
So typically what he's saying is, if you're in the IT industry today, don't fear that you'll lose a job. Instead, approach your managers, go learn. And I think people are open to that, aren't they?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. People are open to that. We do have, actually Mphasis, we do have the Talent Mix as one of the flagship training programs. So we train people at all levels, and this training is very specific. We marry the customer requirements, the individual skills, and upskill people.
Okay.
And this is a continuous ongoing process, and the training is not delivered only in classroom. You have a video-based training, so it is available in all formats.
And IT services is still relevant because people say it's not valuable anymore, but you say it is still valuable. Even in the era of cloud and AI, we need IT services, right?
Oh yes, absolutely.
You want to tell our audience why?
Because in terms of this, right, at the end of the day, you talk about the cloud, you talk about AI, you talk about, we have an approach called as a front-to-back approach, where we really look at how primarily what is the business outcome, and based on that we build a system of intelligence between the engagement layer and the back-end legacy systems. It's all done by the people who have been already working for the customers today.
So you're saying that that people will be driving outcomes as teams. There'll be people who have understood solutions, they understand industry. Those are the kind of people you want, and those are the kind of people you'll train.
Yeah.
Not doing small coding jobs or building something on Java.
See, there are two things, right? You do the small coding jobs, and you go and you upskill them and cross-skill them. If you're doing, let us say, coding in Java, maybe learn Angular Java, learn testing. That happens at the junior levels. And if you go a little bit higher, as I told you, we really look at primarily people working on the solution mindset. So which is the creation of the architects program. So we have a full-fledged architect program across the organization, where people get trained, upskilled as an architect. And since a lot of things are based on our constant dialogue with the customer, we are really looking at the design thinking workshop, so which is create a consultative mindset. So these three things are absolutely important in terms of the
transformation. I want to know who's driving this change in IT services. Is it the clients themselves, or IT services companies re-innovating themselves? Can you talk from an Mphasis perspective?
So Mphasis perspective, see, a year back we came up with this strategy in terms of the front to back, which primarily gives you the business outcomes quicker with the cognitive solutions and the automation.
So you will go to clients and say that this is the outcome we can drive for you. Say if it's in the banking industry, tracking fraud, for example, or processing insurance claims faster on mobile-based platforms. You tell them that there is a definite outcome. This is the approach. Right? That's the line you want to say.
That is the line, right? That is the line we want to take. And for example, I am just giving you an example. An insurance company. You have an insurance company. It is a company where a lot of people call them and tell them, what kind of protection I have. Let us say there is a flood. Do I have a flood protection? Which is a very simple query. And the calling center may be open between 9 and 5.
Yes.
And then you have complex queries also. If I'm on a vacation and if there is a fire, what kind of protection I have? That's another, it's a complex query. So when instead of boxing everything between 9 and 5, what we have done is that we have created a cognitive solution based on the natural language processing. It is marrying your artificial intelligence and applying the linguistic to it. We have the natural language processing, which tells you that if the customer calls, you have a chatbot that really informs the customer saying that, hey, you have a flood protection,
yes.
Or then it also gets trained on a lot of other things, the complex queries that really happen. So for
these complex, business problems that you mentioned, I think Indians should go on that direction too, right? I keep telling our younger audience that if they have to understand business complexity, they better speak to clients.
Right.
And you're exposing your people to clients, right? That's the only way.
We expose our people to the customer. We expose our people, and our people get data. So we do a lot of proof of concepts for the customer and establish that what is that we can really do for the customer.
Okay.
We establish, then it gets industrialized.
Okay.
So it is a two-step process, whatever we are doing, and it is whether it is something like a chatbot or in terms of an insurance industry, or you move into a financial industry. You look at somebody wants to really set up the new branches for a mortgage industry. So how do you really go and set up the new branches? How do you know where exactly you have to do that? So those are all the things that you can really do with the cognitive solutions that we have developed. At Mphasis, what we have is that we have a fantastic institution by the name Next Labs, which is our R&D lab that works very closely.
What's it called again?
Next Labs.
Next Labs. Okay.
Next Labs. That works very, very closely with the customer, and where we work with the customer, understand the customer issues, and design a solution using the artificial intelligence.
I want to know, startups can be your vendors too, right? What is the role of startups in the future to come and disrupt your teams and say, look, we can add value to delivery, global delivery? Do you see that as a possible outcome in the future?
It's an outcome today.
It's happening now?
It's happening now.
You want to talk about a few examples in your company?
Absolutely. See, while we take what we do in the Next Labs to our customer, we also understand there is a tremendous startup ecosystem in the world where we have coming up with a lot of disruptive solutions to the market. So what we do is that we are working very closely with Plug and Play. It is one of the largest.
It is your startup platform?
Startup platform innovator. We are working with them. And where we really look at the set of startups that are available, because we understand the customers very well. We understand the customers very well. We understand what these startups can really do, and we take these startups to the customer and create and co-create solutions.
You can marry them together.
And marry them together.
And provide scale.
That really provides scale. We provide scale. We provide the engineering capabilities there, and we co-create the solution. So at any point of time, so we have a lab called a Sparkle Innovation Lab, and that Sparkle Innovation Lab is a great point of this thing for the.
How did they get into this program? They write to you, or is there a website or something?
Yeah, we do have a website, and we also work with these innovator hubs, so that we get to know who they are.
What do you think about the quality of startups in this country?
I think they are very good. They are very good. They are mature.
Do you want to qualify that? Why? I mean, in what sense? The technology aspect or the marketing aspect?
See, the technology aspect, with respect to India, I think the technology aspect is pretty good. They are looking at a lot of solutions. I think the marketing aspect is not really too great at this point of time. I think it will improve over a period of time. In fact, in the NASSCOM, we had this startup. We met with a lot of startups in NASSCOM. It will be amazing to see the kind of solutions that are there.
Okay, what they lack is experience and scale. So you're saying that you provide them the platform in the future that they can work with you.
Absolutely.
And then you can scale them up for clients.
Yeah, scale them up for clients. Absolutely.
Okay, but where do they begin? Give some advice on if to have global scale. I mean, you've been in global delivery for 27 years now.
Yeah, a lot of time.
Tell startups what does it mean to do global delivery? How difficult it is to scale? How demanding are clients? What typically scales mean from banking perspective or a financial industry's perspective?
Typically, the scale means that you need to have the presence in those places.
Okay.
See, one is that how do you have the presence where the market is? That's an important thing.
So it's not just about the solution alone.
Yeah.
You need to understand the scale of the branches that you serve.
The scale of the branches that you serve. You need to have the presence where the customers are, and you should have the accessibility to that.
Okay.
And remember, for all your potential, the prospective customer base, there are many startups around the world trying to pound. So it is a question of how do you get the proper access to them. So sometimes working with an organization like us, so we understand the capabilities are, we understand the need from the customer side, and we marry these two.
Yeah.
So that way it is a much better way to access the customer, and we provide the scale because we are present globally. We can provide the scale.
What is your opinion? Do you think leaders like you should play an active role in marrying this startup world, the nurturing new talent world, and obviously getting clients to understand that India can offer to the world much better in terms of technology outcomes? Is there a larger role that leaders like you should play?
Oh, absolutely. See, at the end of the day, our job is to make our customer lives a lot better, to improve the customer business. So wherever the talent is, wherever you have these solutions are, it is our responsibility to bring it. And at Mphasis, we are doing that.
Okay, in a little bit about education, and I always bring this up, IT services used to dole out so many so many offer letters in the past.
Yeah.
Right? And that world is definitely changing. I think kids today who are watching this have to understand that the world is more driven towards continuous learning.
Right.
Do you want to tell them where to start? I mean, because I go to a lot of panels, a lot of leaders talk to me, there's always talk. What should kids focus on to come into the new world of IT services?
See, it is definitely your starting point is the fundamentals of IT are the same, right? Your Java and the C language
should be strong.
That should be strong. The fundamentals should anyway be strong. And on top of it, you have things like your machine learning, where you have the data analytics, machine learning, where you have languages like Python, you have the language R. You need to really learn all those things.
And you don't have to necessarily learn it from college. You can go to Coursera and all these places
you
now.
You can go to Coursera. It's no longer that you take a horse to the water to drink. The water comes to the horse nowadays.
Correct.
And there are people who can tell you how to drink it also. So the life is so easy now if you want to learn. If you want to learn, life is so easy. So it is all these things are really available to them. That is available. For architects, there are a lot of programs that are available. So it is the point is many things are today are free.
So you're basically saying it's a self-driven world. It's no longer about parents saying take engineering and after you pass out you'll get a job and you'll get X salary. No, they have to continue. The moment they get in, they have to have a 5-7 year view saying that okay, technology's changed. There's the internet. I can go learn. That should be the vision, right?
Yeah. So this industry, just to, it's a very good point. Thanks for asking this. This industry has created a lot of one-trick ponies, right? The guys who can write only Java, they like to do. You ask them to do a SQL, they will not really touch it, right? That's a different technology. That is not my expertise. So those days are really gone.
Right.
You think about when the time squeezes, right? When the time gets compressed, you think about IPL. Who are the most valuable players in the IPL? They are the all-rounders.
Yeah, the ones with the averages, they do everything.
Average. The guys are the shorter the time frame, the guys who know more is the best guy around. So the same thing is applied to the people who are wanting to get into this industry. It is a knowledge industry. And the knowledge industry, what is key? It's knowledge.
It is.
And you should really know more. You should know the languages, you should know how to design, how to work in the agile teams. Then you at a higher level, even all the mid-management professionals, you know what is your specialty, right? You are architect or you are a program manager, you are a scrum master. And if you think that you have done everything, have you really picked up a foreign language? Right? That's an important thing. You look at demographically, you really look at it, right? Yeah. Demographically, Europe, the number of old people are much more than the number of people who are young. So how are you going to service that market where English is not spoken?
Very true.
So it's the key is learning.
See, that's a wonderful point. I think all of you should continuously learn, and actually you have to listen to what he said. It starts from day one in engineering. It's not as if it's a one-trick pony that you've got a degree and you get a job anymore. Right. So that's one. And the other thing is, personally about you, do you continuously learn?
Yes, I try to. Let me say, I try to.
Is that an honest answer?
It's a very honest answer.
What are you learning currently?
Yeah. Currently, thanks to Mphasis, right? Last 4 months, I think I've learned more about technology in the last 4 months than some point of time in the past. Currently, I'm learning Python.
Okay.
So I told this to my team.
What's Python? Tell them that to an audience that doesn't know Python. What is it?
It's primarily that is a language. It's one of the new generation languages that is being used in a lot of things in your artificial intelligence, cognitive solutions, development of that. It's a very simple language to learn. It's a simple language.
It's a dynamic language.
It's a dynamic language. It's a simple language to learn, and once you deploy it, you can run it in many different environments. A lot of good things are there about Python.
Okay.
Python and language R is more in terms of the statistics, your data analytics, right?
Okay.
So I didn't even go there. I thought I will do that. So immediately my learning department, we have a very passionate head. He said, hey, Sundar, you are up to speed, and this is your platform, and this is what you can really learn, and happy learning. I got that mail, and every other day he checks with me. After my mother, he is checking with me, are you really learning, Sundar? So that's a good news. Then I told that to my team, and encouraged them, and the team looked really worried. I asked why. And then I told them, hey, guys, understand, I am not going to get into any of your projects and code. It's for my own learning.
Very true.
That was a lot of relief for them. But the point is that the learning should happen at all levels.
That's interesting. So India is so tuned to survival,
right,
that we forget what it means to innovate because we are surviving. Oh, is the salary coming? A lot of commitments. What would you advise younger people watching this? That how do you get out of that mode of survival and say, okay, I can continuously learn without having to understand that, okay, my salary is going to come next month or not? Should we get out of that level to really be a product nation in the future, or a real cutting edge IT services nation?
See, the entire industry has been about, there are two lenses in the world, right? I'm talking to the mid-career and also the people below. There is a lens of a scale, there is a lens of a distinction. You talk to any IT mid-management professional, ask them what you're doing, they would say that I'm managing the revenue of so many $1 million.
Yeah, that's how they sell to you.
That's how I sell to you, right? I'm handling so many accounts, my teams are here and there.
And it's an ego play.
That's how he always grew. That's what he wanted to do, more and more than numbers.
True.
Now you tell them, you erase all the numbers and tell me who you are.
I'm nothing.
So that is where that distinction comes into play. The important thing is that scale will come as long as you create the distinction. You are, whether you are an expert in language, or whether you are going to be an architect, you are a domain expert in, let us say, in the payments industry, that is your distinction.
Right, you're like
Scale
talking
will
about,
come.
it's like Eli Raja, the composer. You're like composing. You're like a composer, right? You're orchestrating music. That's your role also.
Exactly. See, at the end of the day, there are so many people, right? You got to inspire people. We are making the technology available to them. We are making the course available to them, and we are constant encouragement to learn, and people should learn.
I want to bring a global perspective. There's a lot of geopolitics in the world. We know the issues with H1B. Let's not get into the specifics of it, but I want to know: is it affecting? We talk about globalization. Is it affecting globalization? I surely think Indians are the tech stack of the world, but unfortunately, geopolitics is affecting us. Is it going to be a problem going forward for a lot of IT services companies?
See, you will always get in 2008, the economic crisis happened, then there was a new normal. There will be always new normals, right? And there will be always headwinds. But the learning and how you equip yourself, how an organization equips itself is very different from all those geopolitical things. The geopolitical things are not in your control, right? You don't really control yourself. But as long as you are working to enhance your value,
so technology will always outbeat policy. That's what you're saying.
Exactly. And look at India. India is so digital now, which you have not really seen in many other places, and it has gone into that curve very, very quickly. And you will be relevant here. Wherever you are, you will be relevant if you are getting into that bandwagon of learning.
So last advice, for our audience, more than advice also, what are the ways to live in a world of so much pressure now? We spoke about, people wanting to say that, hey, I meet 20, I have 50 clients under my belt. I know 100 people that I can get you $100 million from. It's stifling learning, like you said in one way. Is it good for India to be that way, or what is the new normal for India?
Differentiation, if you ask me. How you differentiate, right? The scale is important. I'm not dismissing scale. Scale is important. Sometimes the large scale also becomes an impediment for an organization to change. If you are in a very large scale, it's very difficult to change.
Yeah, you don't innovate.
You don't the innovation. You do deal with a lot of constraints and bottlenecks over a period of time. But if you really look at in the current ecosystem, you should always invest some time in doing the activities that create a distinction for yourself. When you create a distinction for yourself, you create the distinction for your account, the project team that you are in, you are creating a distinction for the organization, and you are passing that benefit to the customer. As long as you are putting that what my customer needs and really work backwards, all these things would make sense.
There you go. In the end, it's all about leadership.
Absolutely.
Nothing else, right? And if the leader knows where he's going, the team follows. Absolutely. Otherwise, it collapses.
Right.
It's a strong foundation.
Absolutely.
And you've been a strong foundation for Mphasis. And thanks for being with YourStory, Sundar.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And we'll be with some other great person tomorrow. Watch us. Thank you.